All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. The contract attorneys for Montgomery County, Texas, Evidencecom training and overview. So yes, I am sharing my screen so you can see a web browser open along with an example of an email, which I'll talk about in a second. But what we'll do over the next roughly 30 minutes is introduce you to evidence.com. All of you will be receiving, and some of you are probably seeing the emails pop in right now, but all of you will be receiving an email prompting you to access your own independent evidence.com domain, and we'll explain what that is as we're going along today. But just generally speaking, Evidence.com is a cloud-based digital evidence management system, or DEMS, D-E-M-S. So effectively, any digital file that you need to receive for discovery can be uploaded by law enforcement and prosecution into this portal and shared to you. So you can get your own independent copy, which you can review and annotate, have your own work product on or download. And we'll go over all of those features a little bit later. But the service is designed so that you do not have to receive download links from the DA's office for discovery, which then require you to download all of that evidence, which can be time consuming to wait for it to download and take up space on your hard drive, which you may not have enough of for large enough cases. So evidence.com keeps the files in a secure area for you so that you can access it from anywhere that you have an internet connection. And I'll just make sure to mute everybody.
I saw an email.
All right, so feel free to type any questions in the chat as you have them, or unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, but there'll be plenty of time for questions after the training. But back to the kind of the baseline definition of evidence.com, you'll be able to access it from anywhere you have an internet connection, since it is cloud software. You won't have to install anything on your computer in order to access evidence.com. You just have to have a web browser. Chrome is probably the best, but Firefox is probably just as good. And even Microsoft Edge will also work just fine. The DA's office will have a document for you, which gives a little bit more detail about the program and yeah, a few other specifics regarding your site. But what we can do today is just give you a practical demonstration of how you're going to get registered for evidence.com through the email that you're probably receiving right about now. And then once you are registered, a couple important first steps to make sure that the DA's office can share evidence with you. So there's just a couple quick steps required up front to make that possible. And I'll show you exactly how that's going to work on my screen here. So after I show you a few first steps regarding getting set up and inviting the DA's office to become what we call a partner agency, I'll give you an overview of evidence.com itself and how files are organized within it, how you can stream video or look at photos or download something if you do want to download it. We'll go over just the software on a basic level, but it's designed to be pretty easy to use, especially for reviewing evidence online and downloading it or adding markers. So we'll look at some of those features in a bit. But first thing that we want to cover is the email invitation, which some of you may have received already. And if you haven't received it yet, it's probably coming soon, probably by the end of tomorrow at the latest, but I bet at least half of you may have that email sitting already in your inbox. So the email is going to be from AXON as the sender. It'll be from noreply@evidence.com, but the name will actually be AXON. And the subject line of the email will be, "You have been invited to join," and then it becomes variable at this point. I just have an example of this email open. It'll say you've been invited to join, and then I think it will probably show you your own name. So if your name is Joe Smith, it will say you've been invited to join Joe Smith TX Discovery on evidence.com. So what we're actually creating for you is your own standalone evidence.com site. So it is not connected to any other contract attorneys in the county. They each will have their own independent site from yours. So you have your own storage, your own copies of the evidence that you receive, which you can do with what you wish, keep them as long as you want to. They're stored free of charge. So that is why your portal that we created for you that you're getting invited to actually has your name associated with it, since it's kind of an individualized website that the DA's office is providing to you. So you'll see that email with the subject line that says you have been invited to join, the name of your site. The body of the email looks like this. It'll probably say your name as the subject header, or the header of the text of the email itself. It'll probably say, Joe Smith, evidence.com, discovery. And then it will prompt you to use one of two links. There will be two hyperlinks in the email. One of them may require you to copy and paste an invite code. The one that does not require you to do that will work automatically. So when you use one of those two links, it will bring you to evidence.com, where basically you'll be asked to create your not your username and password, but just your password. Your username will be your email address. So you just have to type in your password, a couple other things like challenge questions, a couple security items, and then after you fill out those few items, you'll be good to go. You'll actually be logged into evidence.com. It will look a lot like this screen that I have shared through my Chrome browser. And in my Chrome browser, I have two tabs open. So the first tab I have open is representative of the DA's evidence.com service. I won't spend too much time in here for you guys, since the purpose is to show you how to use your own site and not talk too much about what the DA workflows look like. But they have their own evidence.com service, which they'll share the discovery from, and they have all of their evidence stored in that service. From the beginning, you'll probably still receive evidence the old-fashioned way. Not every police department in the county is getting online immediately, but there will be a gradual process where more and more evidence is being collected by the DA's office directly in evidence.com and then shared over for discovery the same way. So it will be kind of a gradual transition, but it will begin next week. So I have this prosecutor account open. You'll notice that it will look just like the account that you guys are receiving. So just as a stand-in or demo account representing what you're receiving right now is my public defender evidence.com domain. So your evidence.com domain is kind of a standalone thing, has its own URL or address that you type in. And so your sites will all be named basically your name and then a dash and then discovery.evidence.com. So I'll type in an example as if it were my name. So my name is Randall Cooper. So Randall Cooper dash discovery, the capitalization doesn't really matter, but basically your name and a dash, then discovery .evidence.com. Your agency name, which you'll see in the email body that you receive, will just be your name and then TX and then discovery. So it'll be easy for the DA's office to find you, to share with you. But the web address is also modeled off of your name. So let me just refresh this page so I don't lose it. And when you get logged in, right after you type in your password, you'll be logged in as an admin, and you can remain as an admin since you'll be the only one accessing your account. So there's not too much that you have to do in terms of setup, but I'll show you the most important thing. So the website is navigated from the top menu bar. So there's a few different tabs ranging from evidence and cases, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This is where the evidence and cases will actually be stored for you to access. But there's also an admin tab, which you may only need to use for one specific thing, which is the thing that I'm going to show you now, which you should do pretty much immediately once you get logged in. So the admin tab has a whole range of tools here, but you really only need to focus on one specifically. So the first step that you need to take when you get logged in is to look on the left-hand side of your admin tab, and you'll see partner agencies under agency settings. So once you click on partner agencies, your partner agencies page will actually be empty. My demo account has a few accounts that it's partnered with, but you'll see no results. So you'll see an empty page here under the tab that says, who can share to my agency? So this will let you know who can share with you. And who needs to share with you is one specific DA's office. It's Montgomery County DA's office. So once you add them to this list and they accept the invitation, they'll be able to share Evidencecom cases with your account. So let me show you how to do that. So you can remain on the default tab that it shows you, who can share with you. And then what you can do is click the blue Add Agency button. So once you have that blue Add Agency button pulled up, you'll want to search for the specific agency. And let me just grab the name of that specific agency to copy and paste. But I'll show you what to search for, and it will be specifically the name of the DA's office, but it is a specific name, and I want to make sure you invite the right one. So I'm going to paste in the name here. So you'll see add agencies. And from here, you can search for any agency that's on evidence.com. That's a whole range of public defenders, district attorneys, police departments. But if you search for, and I guess it's not showing the entire thing. So let me show you, at least in a Word document, what the agency name will look like that you'll search for. It's Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. So nothing surprising there, but you can type in pretty much this exact name, and that's what I did here. And you'll see Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, an exact match for that search. So you'll see that in the results, just as I am here, Conroe, Texas, and then you'll see an add button. So clicking the add button will give you a note that you're going to send a partner agency request to them. You'll click send. After you do click send, which I won't do, you'll see its status will not say accepted, but you will see it occupy a row here, like Montgomery County DA's office, Conroe, Texas, and then status will be invited or actually awaiting acceptance. Someone at the DA's office will accept it, and then it will switch from status accepted. So you'll know you're good to go. You never have to do that ever again. So it's a one-time invite, which they accept. And what that causes is their account will then be able to share cases with you. So I wanted to kind of take these steps slowly just so that you know what to do when you get logged in, because logging into evidence.com using the email that you're getting right now, while that will get you logged in, it will not immediately let the DA begin sharing with you. So you do have to invite them, which then they have to accept. But after that, the DA is all set. So again, your site name will look like this. It'll look like first name, last name, TX Discovery, and then the naming convention of your actual website will be first last name -discovery.evidence.com. So if you actually type in your first and last name -discovery.evidence.com, if your site is already live, it'll take you to the login page for it, but make sure that you register with the email. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about evidence and cases and how things are going to be shared with you. So when you open up your evidence.com site, your site will begin empty. So the evidence and cases pages are where you'll find everything that's ever shared with you. And the evidence page will be a large list of all of those files. It may get into the thousands or tens of thousands, depending on how many cases you're receiving. So the evidence page is going to show you everything that you have, but on day one, you're not going to have anything yet. So it'll say 0 results, that there's no evidence. Once the DA's office accepts your invitation, they will start sharing cases with you, and then this number will grow. And as the number grows, you'll see actual files, from videos to audio files to photos, documents potentially, but basically any file that the DA is turning over for discovery, you will see listed out here. Now, since I've been using this demo account for a while, there's over 3,000 items. So it gets a little clunky looking at this very, very long list of evidence. So that is why Evidence.com really bases itself around cases, and that is what is shared between agencies. So anything that you find in evidence is going to be in a case that came from the DA's office. So while the evidence page is good to know about if you want to search for something specifically, the cases tab is where you'll spend all of your time. So the cases page similarly will begin empty. You'll click on the cases tab on day one and see no cases found. But just like I mentioned, for evidence, once the DA's office starts sharing cases with you, and that's exactly what they'll share with you is these case objects, cases will begin appearing. So I have in my demo account corresponding to those 3,000 pieces of evidence, about 235 cases. So a case is a self-contained file folder or structure in evidence.com. I'll open up just one of these example cases to show you what it looks like. Click on the name of the case to open it up. You'll see a summary page with basic info, and I'll show you a more practical example in a bit. But there's also the evidence page, which will show you what evidence is part of this case. So rather than having to sort through thousands of pieces of evidence in your evidence page, the case will just show you what is pertinent to that case. So it's a self-contained list of whatever evidence the DA built into that case or received into that case from their law enforcement agencies. So we see a list of evidence. Just to give you a quick preview, if you see a video, for example, that you want to review, I can just click on the name of that video, it will pull it up, and then I can stream it. So really the main purpose of evidence.com is that you don't have to download or wait for files to download to stream from your laptop. You can just stream them from the cloud just as you would YouTube or Netflix. So it's not that different from any online video streaming service. So we will come back to this cases page to look at a practical example and a little more of the tools that you have to review your evidence and some other rules that go along with it, just so that you're comfortable with issues like work product and can the DA see what you're doing? The answer is no, but I'll talk about that in a little bit of detail as we do a sample case share from the DA demo account in the tab here. So the way that you'll receive evidence is through a partner case share. So the DA's office actually has a very similar looking service to yours. So what they see in terms of the layout and the buttons like cases and evidence and admin is very similar to what you have, effectively the same layout. But the DA's office is going to be both building cases and also receiving them from any agencies in the county that have their own evidence.com. So a lot of different police agencies deploy evidence.com to go along with their body-worn camera program, and that's where they upload the body-worn camera and other digital evidence, which then they share to the DA's office in a very similar way that the DA's office will share with you. But not having to bother yourself with the details of how these cases are compiled by the DA's office or police agencies, the end result will be that you have a copy of that case, and it is a true copy in the same way that a burned disk that is given to you or driven or mailed to you is your own copy of that disk, separate from the copy that the police department has sitting in their department or the DA's office has sitting in a desk or file cabinet somewhere. So you are receiving true copies of evidence, which means you can control the retention of that evidence and put your own work product on it. And the DA's office is not going to see what notes you are writing on it or what more annotation you are making on videos or other evidence. So I'm in the prosecutor account here, and I have a case that may be named similar to some of the cases that you receive. So 22F1234 is the example we'll use. This case has already been received into the DA's office from one of their law enforcement agencies, and it's already been marked up in a similar way to what the DA's office will do in practice. Now, how exactly they mark up their case may evolve or change, but I'm going to walk you through a few of the details that we'll see here, and these will be the same details that you get on your cases, or the same metadata here, so the same fields like case ID, case status, owner, tags, and description. But I have this sample case. It hasn't been shared yet. The DA's office has visibility to whether they've shared something with you yet or not. So this says 0, which is a good indication that it has not gone to the defense attorney yet. So looking at the summary page of this case, which functions a lot like a cover sheet. So when you open up a case, this is what you'll see first. The name will be shown twice. It's actually the primary ID and just the ID here that we see. You can actually edit any case you receive to change any of this information, and it will not impact the DA's copy, but we'll make sure we copy it over first to the defender. So we have case ID, description. You'll often find the DA will write out your client's last name and first name. So for this case, it's actually two of them. So we see Hickenbottom and Poffo are the two defendants. You may get a cause number as well in the description, but I'll let the DA communicate or the final template for what they're going to share with you, and that may evolve over time. But you may see the cause number, client names, and then next to that we have case status active. Just means the case is active rather than deleted. And again, you do control your own retention, and there's kind of a note about retention here. And I'll talk about retention a little bit later on. The owner is always going to be your name. So you're going to get the case. It'll show your last name, first name as the owner, and you don't have to change that. And then there's tags. So tags may show some of the same information that we see on the description, like potentially the cause number or other numbers here, and also your client name. So we had Hickenbottom and Poffo as the two clients. And then the originating agency in this case was MCSO, and maybe a secondary agency involved, SHPD. So this is similar to what you'll see in the cases that you receive, specifically client names. So if I go back to cases where I have several hundred of them, if I want to search for every case by a certain tag, particularly client name, if I type in last name, Hickenbottom, don't even have to finish it. The system knows that there is a case with that tag, and it is one result. If you have several different cases come through with the same client name, there may be more than one result, but there's just one here. I could do the same search for the other name. So we see actually Poffo is a client for two different cases. So there's two results, but I'll just pull up the main example that we're using. So any of these tags are searchable, whereas the description isn't. So that's why tags are important with evidence.com, is that you can search for them. So that's what they mean. You can even add your own tags if you want to. You can click edit and change a lot of this info, but let's share the case over. So what we see here is basically the same thing that you're going to receive. But the DA's office, when they know they need to share something with you, they'll click manage shares. They'll create a new share. And then they'll type in basically your name to find you as a partner agency. So if I typed in Cooper, typically if I had a partner agency that was named Randall Cooper, and then I'll finish out exactly what mine would look like, TX Discovery, the DA's office would see that as a result where they could select. So I don't have any partner agency of that name. I have some more generically titled ones. So I'll use as my partner agency, actually the one that we need to share it with, which is Public Defender Demo. So that is the tab I have open here. That is a partner agency with this fake prosecutor account. So the DA's office will basically select your name or type in your name from the dropdown. You will be the only result in terms of users within your own account, since you have one license to it. So if they're sharing with, Brad Benton Discovery, they'll just select that as the user to share with. So basically type in your name twice, maybe put a message in, but it's optional. So I'll just leave it blank just to keep this simple. And in terms of these attachments, I don't think the DA's office is going to share their notes with you, since that would be work product. Same thing for all of this stuff, essentially in the realm of work product. So they'll pretty much click next. They'll add all of the evidence to the share that you need to have. So they'll just see that they've added it all, and ultimately they'll share the case. So I did not want to dwell too long on what exactly the DA's office does, but just wanted to highlight the fact that once they do initiate the case share over to you, you will notice that that case will appear in your cases page. So I'm in the Public Defender Demo account here. This is where we shared it. We see now that the newest result is the case that we just shared. So this is where your work will basically begin. As you log in, you go to cases. You can, of course, search cases by either tags, or if you know the name of the case is 22F, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can run an ID search or just as well a last name search for one of your clients. And we get that result. So this is exactly what we saw on the other end, except now the owner has changed to the owner of this account. So same information seen. Let's just take a look at evidence. So the evidence will copy over pretty quickly, but and it does take place in the cloud, so it's not having to copy to your computer or your network, anything like that. But the evidence will copy over. The number of items that were in the share that we made was in total 7. And it was just a combination of video, 1 PDF report, and a couple 911 audio files and some photos. So 7 total files. Looks like 2 out of 7 have copied, and then the rest should copy over pretty quickly. But clicking on the evidence page, let's look at a couple examples here. So you'll see on quick views on the left, just an overview of what evidence is in the case. So far there's just 1 audio file and 1 zip file, but these will function as good examples. So by clicking on the title of the audio file, so this says audio 911, maybe a name associated with it, maybe date, time, but clicking on the 911 audio, we're able to stream the audio to listen to it. So works just like video streaming, except there's no picture here since it's just a 911 call. So you can stream the file directly. If you do want to download it to your computer, you can, but you certainly don't have to. Evidence.com will keep the file stored for you as long as you want it to be stored, and it is stored free of charge. So you're not having to pay for a storage plan. So clicking the download button, I could download it, but we will not do that. There's a few other things going along with any given file. So on the right-hand side, you'll see who uploaded it originally. That may be a law enforcement agency member, that may be a DA's office staff member. You'll see some simple dates and times for when the file was collected or recorded. And then below every file, be it video or audio, you'll see the option to click on clips and markers. So you can mark up your own files, be it video or audio, by clicking marker. It'll just help you reference a specific point in time of where the arrest happened or where the use of force happened or any other information. So you can add markers. You can easily clip files as well. So if I add a clip, I can just set a range within the video and then maybe extract that separately. So I think our smartphones all have the same feature when you take a video, but you really just want to share a small piece with someone, maybe your client, or maybe just have a small portion you want to show in trial. That's what you can use clips for, to then extract them. So they're just simple annotations you can put on your copy. So an important point of emphasis is that if you start putting markers or clips on your video, DA's office will not see them. Your copy is truly your own copy that only you have access to. So don't hesitate to add markers. If you want to fill out a description of the file, you can type in anything here and it will stay self-contained on your own copy. And then same thing for notes. If you want to write a note on a video, reminding yourself that you reviewed it or wanted to use it or clip it or something, that's exactly what you can do here. So jumping back to that case, so there's probably more stuff. So 4 out of the 7 items have copied over. Look just like a couple audios, but stuff like CCTV and photos will be a little bit different. So I'll open up this CCTV from Walgreens, which is going to be in a zipped up packet. And I may have to show you how you interact with zips in evidence.com. So you'll open up the zipped up record and it will say it's a zip file. And then you can click to preview it. The preview will show you the structure of that zip. So if you've seen, whoops, this was not the Walgreens zip. So I want to show you that one first. Bear with me here. So the Walgreens CCTV, open it here. CCTV often looks a lot like this, where there's like the player and some .dxas, whatever those are. But what you're able to do is if you know which file is the video rather than the player, you can just click on it. I think it's the DXA. Yeah, but if you're unsure amongst all of this stuff, which one is the player and which one is the video, you can click on file type video and it will just show you the actual videos, which is these two DXAs. Actually is not sure totally if some of these others are videos. So actually all of these are videos, and then the player is here. So I think even the player may be able to play something back potentially. But looking at the .dxa, which I know is the video format, we have a 35-minute long CCTV footage here. So a lot of CCTV surveillance, some file types will be zipped up together. Something else that will be zipped up together is photos. Since if you're receiving 500 photos as part of a case, which may be typical, rather than seeing 500 results in this evidence page, page after page, you may see something shown here like 13 photos of home or witness or victim injury or something .zip. So it's going to be the same interface. You just have to open it and click the preview button. And then the 13 photos of home I can look at one after another just by clicking through them. And it's just a bunch of JPEGs that I have zipped up here. So this makes it a little more of a self-contained unit for especially large volumes of photos. Now, for the case itself, you can switch to a gallery view of the evidence, especially for photos. So we have the table view that we've seen the whole time, but especially for video, you can see a thumbnail of it. And for other things like documents and audio, there's nothing to look at. But let's open up a video. It's going to look very similar to the audio files. Let me see if there's actually anything else to show. Probably makes sense. Looking on the bottom right, there is full screen modes. A lot of that conventional video streaming stuff is there. We even have a zoom feature, so you could zoom in, say, on a license plate or something else in the background. We have volume control, resolution settings, which you can even use to rotate the file. And then in terms of playback speed, you can have the video play at a quicker pace so that you can get through the whole thing faster. And even jump forward 5 seconds at a time or backwards 5 seconds at a time. And you can even slow down to slow motion or half speed if that's what you want to do. So there's playback speed, frame by frame are the arrows next to the play button. At least if you have the video paused, it becomes frame by frame, forwards or backwards. But then when the video is playing, it becomes a 5 second skip forward. But just like the audio file I showed you, you can mark it up with markers or clips and then extract those. Or for markers, you can actually download a marker to your computer. So it basically gives you a screenshot of just that frame in the video if that's all you needed to use. So for any file, you can edit to rename it. So while the default for a dash cam video will probably look like this, dash and then a name and then type of system the camera was recording on. But if you want to change the name to be something more descriptive, like pursuit or arrest or use of force, you can just change the title to be anything you want to. You could change the ID number from the police number, which will often be labeled on any of the individual files you're receiving. And you could label it to have your client name or the police number and your client name if you just wanted to add that last name to it. I think the client name here was Bottom, so I'll just add last name there. So you can make changes, you can add markers, clips, and again, none of this activity will be visible by the DA's office. It's your own copy. So on any piece of evidence, it will be linked back to its case that it belongs in. So if I see cases that this video belongs in, I can jump straight back to that case and continue looking at the evidence within it. So PDF documents are going to look really similar here. It's just a document that you can page through and read instead. So I'm just going to page through this. It's 8 pages long. So we do support PDF documents for playback, but not Word docs yet, although those will be coming in the future. Let's see if there's any other file formats that we really want to look at here. I think we've actually looked at all the different file types, primarily the zips, the videos, photos, documents, and audio files. But potentially anything can be uploaded here. So if there's a cell phone extraction, sometimes that may be zipped up, and that's actually what this is. So you could browse the cell phone extraction if it's zipped up. For Celebrate files, those are often UFDR files. So you may have something that you're actually not able to download. So here's a, or I'll go back and show you an example of something and how it will look if it's not supported for playback, particularly like a cell phone extraction. That's a UFDR file. It'll just have a download button. So you receive a copy that you can't look at in the cloud, but you can download it to your computer, and then you'll be able to look through the UFDR or whatever the file type is. So any digital file can be uploaded and shared through this platform. Something that's not super important for you guys, but good to know about is every file has its own audit trail. So you can open an audit trail, which will be a PDF document with basic information on the top, like the SHA hash value, the title, whoever was the original uploader, and some dates and times. And then every time you access the file, it will just show you that you accessed the file. This is more important for police agencies to track chain of custody and stuff on evidence, and DA's offices to know who's accessing stuff. But since your account is only accessible by you, you're only going to see your own name here on your audit trail document. So last thing I'll show you is just how to do a bulk download. So if you have the case and you want to just download a bunch of stuff from the case to use in trial or some other reason, you can select files individually. And under more actions, there is a download button. The system will let you know that it's going to send you a link, and then you can use that link to download the file. If you have a file open individually, like a video, you'll see a download button here, which will just allow you to download the file immediately. So there's kind of two different types of download, one for individual files and another if you want to do a bulk download of many items all at once. You just use the checkbox and do that. So that's just kind of a rough overview of what you're going to begin receiving through Evidencecom and all the various things you can do, but just want to make it clear that these are your copies. So if you want to delete something, you can, but the system will make you jump through a few hoops, but mainly you have to delete the case, and then the items within that case will become eligible for deletion. But the DA cannot delete your copy. They cannot revoke your copy or change anything about your copy, but you certainly can do anything with your copies that you want to. Last thing I'll show you is the help tab. So we do have this help tab, which has a message box to send to our tech support team, who will email or call you back if you're having trouble with something. And then the help center is a good self-help resource where you can learn more about what we've talked about today. So it'll take you to this evidence.com help center with stuff like getting started, and probably more importantly, accessing evidence, like viewing a case is something I showed you today, but there's a whole section in the help center about viewing a case or searching for results or downloading evidence. So everything is pretty well documented along with screenshots here. But I know that the DA's office will also have a PDF that they'll distribute to you. To give you a little more detail and context on what you'll start receiving from them. So with that, gone a little bit longer than 30 minutes, but I do have plenty of time for questions if you have them. So either unmute yourself or type a question into the chat window, which I do have off screen.
Just to clarify before we move forward, the PDF document with your instructions on are going to be coming from Chad Peace. I sent them over to him today for review, and he should be sending it out to you guys shortly.
I do have a version of it, so it'll look roughly like this. It's just a couple pages long, and that's some good write-up on the process. But yeah, this is that document. So that Chris mentioned that will be making its way to you with a lot of kind of reiteration of what we discussed, but also some other details. So I am happy to stick around for a few more minutes. I'll just put myself on mute and wait for any questions to come in, but that is the end of the actual overview. So if you don't have any questions, you can certainly leave. And we did record this, or it is still recording, so that especially for anyone who wasn't able to attend, or if you guys want to go back over what I discussed today, we'll have a simple MP4 video that the DA's office will be able to send out to you so that you can have this on file.